Greetings and welcome back, blade lovers. Hope you're having a great day and enjoying your blades. Well, I've got a few things to share with you today, primarily one, and no, that's not the knife that you see in front of you. You haven't clicked on the wrong link. This is a comparison. This very interesting hunter's knife was something designed by James Lowe. And I think it falls into the category of a knife that you either love or hate because of the unusual shape. It's pretty much out there. Okay, so that's an example, and an example only, and it's far different from the knife I'm going to show you. But now today we're going to discuss this knife that is actually dropping on the date that this video comes out. So you'll be able to order it on this day. And this day when the video drops is going to be Friday the 27th of October 2023. Okay. This is an interesting knife designed by Keanu. And Keanu has designed knives for Tucson and for Kubi, and perhaps a few others, but I know he definitely has a few Tucson designs out there. This is a Bestech knife, so his design got picked up by a major knife company, and it's called the GLOK. Not G-L-O-C-K, but G-L-O-K. I wonder if there is some sort of a reference there. Maybe the reference is that the GLOK, when it first came out, I think that was in the 80s, because I had picked one up. This GLOK 17 was a plastic and deemed by many traditionalists a very ugly pistol. Well, since then, it laid the ground for so many plastic pistols by every manufacturer that it's kind of the norm now. Well, I brought out the Hunters because it was kind of a radically shaped design. This, in its own way, is radically shaped, but simpler. Kind of like a big butter knife, a great big wide blade with a flat grind that goes almost all the way to the top. Some excellent file-like jimping. I mean, it feels just like a file when you put your thumb on there. You're not slipping at all. For me, it's positioned perfectly because, as you may or may not know, I like that Filipino grip. I know you hear this a lot from Bob DeMarco and myself. I like that Filipino grip where I'm able to lay the whole thumb on the back of the blade rather than being kind of cramped up in here where they usually put the thumb ramps. So a flat blade, ever so slight of a drop here. I don't know if we could call it a drop point or utility. It's really more of a utility blade. And a compound grind at the end, somewhat in the vein of a tanto. No, it's not a tanto. But we've got that sort of reinforced grind on the end that gives you a higher kind of a higher grind. Okay, got a lower grind here, and I'm not measuring any bevels or anything for you today, sorry. It is a button lock, this particular one, and it comes in about 4 or 5 different flavors, and I'll give you the links to White Mountain, where if you use Old Sword as your discount code, you'll get 10% off your whole order. This one happens to be, as I said, in a kind of a gray-blue G10. And I have to tell you, it's a comfortable knife to hold. In referencing a review that I saw before this even came into my hands by Jim Skelton, he said, I was wrong, I think was his header. A little bit of clickbait there, but I mean, that's okay, kind of draws you in. I used no such cause to bring you to watch this review, other than the fact that you may have heard that the knife dropped and the name is interesting, and the shape is certainly interesting. Got plenty of room here in this this finger groove, not a thumb groove. Interestingly, I mean, it allows you to hold it cross palm saber grip. But it's not uncomfortable to hold it this way. It doesn't really force your fingers in there. I mean, you could get 2 fingers in there, and this bump is not uncomfortable. I don't really feel it poking me. We have a full deep carry clip that is offset to the side, interestingly. I tried to figure out why that was done that way, and I don't really see an advantage. At first I thought, well, because I can grab here and I'm not grabbing the clip and putting pressure on it when I'm pulling it out of the pocket. But guess what? I couldn't get my finger down in the space between my outer pocket and this to gain any advantage there. So I can say that with that short clip even, it does secure very well in the pants pocket, even though, yes, it's not transferable to the left side of the handle. Kind of too bad. I'm going to measure it up momentarily, but there it is, kind of a big butter knife, if you will, kind of a big utility blade that should have a lot of function for you, even though it may not be the most attractive thing in the world to you. Again, maybe one of those love it or hate it sort of knives. Overall length is 8 inches. Blade length to the handle, 3.5 inches. To the cutting edge, about 3.4 inches. Early in the morning, still clearing that throat out. Very slim handle, 0.44, but you don't notice it because it's a tall handle. And the blade stock is 0.11 inches, or, whoops, slipped off, 2.9 millimeters. And it's a light knife. We're going to check on weight relieving in a moment, but quite light. Newly powered up scale here, nice and bright with new batteries. And we've got 3.5 ounces, 3.6 ounces, we'll call that. Quite nice, and right in there in the ounce per inch category. 3.5 inches, 3.5 ounces. Very nice. It is a button lock with a thumb disc, but it's not round, so it's a platform. It looks like it's made from aluminum. It definitely doesn't attract the magnet. I would say it's probably aluminum. It looks metallic. Doesn't appear to be plastic or anything like that. With a single screw holding it in place, and it's sort of dovetailed in. Not really dovetailed, but you get what I mean. It's set in there so it's not going to move around even with the one screw. Big square old handle. And what does that look like that we've seen before? How about something that Keanu did for, and I got to change the lights here, bear with me. That's better. I have a large overhead fluorescent light that was throwing pretty nasty reflections on the blade. And I'm all color balanced here for the lights that I'm using. And in fact, I set up so quickly. There we go. One more light. Now I'm too far into it to do a redo, but I'm sure you will. You won't mind. This is the Tucson, and now that they're putting names and I should say numbers on the blade, that's the 358 in D2, and it's a button lock, and it's actually number 024. Not too often that Tucson numbers their blades, but this one is numbered. Notice some similarity in design notes here. Big squarish handle, but this one is massively thick. This one is very thin, and I did say we'd look for weight relieving, and there's plenty of it. Yeah. So we've got 2 big rectangular slots on both sides of the liner. It is a hidden liner, which I kind of like. Drives the knife modders crazy. Not the knife modders themselves, but those who modify knives, because that kind of handle scale is almost impossible to replicate without a lot of work and a lot of money. And this is an inexpensive knife coming in around the $69 mark, I think. The steel, if I didn't mention it, is 14C28N. Quite nice. Good, substantial, solid stainless steel. But look at that. Now here's another knife that I thought of when I saw the GLOK, and that's the Eutectics Trinity, a Liangma budget knife that he has an OEM for. I don't know, the handle's different, but the blade, even though it is a clip, somehow reminds me of this knife. Not just the handle color. All right. And also an excellent lightweight drop shut utility knife. But those are the two Kano designs that I have. And I'm sure there's more. There is a Kubi or two. Some knives I don't have. You may have them. You may know about them, but I don't have them. This one does have the provision to switch the clip. And one thing about this one, the button lock drops very quickly, very easily. And no, there is no opening mechanism on this other than the gravity open. So you may or may not have a legality issue in your area for that one. Probably, you know, the same with any button lock, really. Are button locks gravity knives? Because that certainly is. The button's pretty recessed on this one. I like the fact that, and here's the test I usually use. If I press the flat of my thumb on the button, as if accidentally touching it, it's not moving. A little bit of wobble there, but it starts to disengage, a little bit of clickety-clack. But you can see that it doesn't stand too proud. It is above the level of the handle, and there is this groove here, so they give you a little bit of leeway there before that disengages. So now I'm pressing more with the tip, and it disengages. Some of you don't care, you know. You're not going to fight with the knife. You're not worried about that. I mean, it's the whole thing lately with the ram locks from Microtech and people whacking them on the back of the blade and having them close and so on and so forth. I don't use folders for that purpose. I mean, maybe once in a lifetime I'd need to do that in survival or whatnot out in the woods. But if you use a knife as it's intended towards the edge, you're good. You could even use this one, you know, for stabby stuff. Look at the thickness. I mean, that's pretty darn good. I mean, if you are working that point into something, you just do need to be careful that you're not accidentally depressing that button. Huge platform of a thumb disc there. As far as middle finger flicking it goes, yes, you can. For me, it's a little silly, but I know a lot of you guys have more gymnastic hands than me, and I don't do backflips either, by the way. I'd break in a million pieces if I tried one of those. In my youth, I was a little better at that kind of stuff. But for me, easily rolls out. I mean, almost no detent on this. It's not to say there isn't one, but with button locks, you don't generally have a strong detent, but, you know, that does pull it in, okay? So there is a detent of sorts. And if I get right on the edge of that, I can easily roll it out. Here, drop it easily. The blade falls flush right into the handle, nothing protruding because the handle is so wide and square. I'm sure there'll be some discussion as to why it's called the GLOK, and I wonder if the GLOK pistol company in Austria has anything to say about that. They just pulled the C out, but it is one of those utilitarian, maybe ugly-ish kind of knives that would be aligned with that pistol. Very highly functional, easy to carry, but not necessarily your traditional pretty sort of knife, or even anything that's wild and space age, like some of the stuff we see coming out. But 3.5-ounce knife, 3.5-inch blade. I think perfect carry combo. Easily in and out of the pocket. This frag grip here on the handle gives you plenty of traction. The G10 scales are pretty skinny. So, you know, 0.45 inch thickness. That's pretty good. There's your Bestech logo. What else do you want to say about it? Really no go forward. Don't have a lot of room past that plunge grind to give you some sharpening. I mean, there's some, but not a whole lot. And I just wanted to test the edge before we wrap up. So let's do that. So here we go. I haven't tested the edge at all. This is straight out of the box. Haven't stropped it. Woohoo. Tearing it already. If you don't give the paper support, that's going to happen. I mean, except on the sharpest of edges. I would say that's pretty darn slicey right out of the box. And of course, I got a mess left over afterwards. But that is the Bestech GLOK in 14C28N, G10, nested liners, and kind of a stone washed, sort of tumbled sort of finish there. Very nice. A nice slicey knife, and lots of potential to make that even sharper. We'll give you a real quick, I usually do this before we wrap up, compare with the Griptilian. So it's right in that category with the Griptilian. So they have done everything with this knife, Mr. Keanu has, to give you a pretty run-of-the-mill, when I say run-of-the-mill, you know, middle standard sort of everyday carry knife. I think this certainly could function in that role, unless you're adverse to push buttons or the name GLOK. Hey, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe. I will be back with you soon, real soon. Got a couple more interesting knives to show you. Take care. Be well.